It is 10 p.m. on the East Coast. I'm Olivia Flynn, and this is America Now. And we begin tonight with breaking news. President Trump is speaking now in the rescheduled White House Correspondents' Dinner. The event was postponed earlier this year after a gunman opened fire near the original April gathering. President Trump is speaking right now after watching journalists receive awards for reporting that often focused on him. He teased the crowd about seeking a third term.
But just like my presidency, the second time is always better. It's always better. And the third time will be better yet.
This is just a small portion of the president's speech. In a more humorous tone, Trump also spoke about that shooting a few months ago. Take a listen to this.
But after hearing the gunshots, many people yelled, get down, which caused Nicki Minaj to start twerking. Do you believe it?
Can you believe it? Again, this dinner is meant as a night of fun for Capitol Hill and reporters and staff. As we take a live look right now to Washington, D.C., as you can see, President Trump continues to speak at this very moment. Make sure you stay tuned as we continue following all the developments. Following new developments tonight of the conflict with Iran, President Trump met with his top national security advisors Friday to discuss whether to further escalate U.S. military action against Iran. The meeting comes as the war enters its fifth month, with reports that Iran has rejected the latest U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal. Trump says despite that, the U.S. locked and loaded for more.
But we are talking to them right now. Look, there are two ways. I consider that the smarter way, but the other is probably the easier way, doing what we're doing. And we can take that to a much higher level if we want to. You know, we're prepared to do that, as you know. We're locked and loaded. We're locked and loaded and ready to go.
Trump also added that diplomatic talks with Iran are still continuing. The renewed fighting has pushed oil prices near $100 a barrel, while the Iran-aligned Houthis are now threatening to expand attacks in the Red Sea, adding new pressure to global shipping and energy markets. The White House has not announced whether President Trump will authorize any additional military action. We will continue following the latest as the story develops. And 6 civilians have been killed and dozens more wounded in overnight Ukrainian attacks on Russia's Kirov region. RT correspondent Roman Kosarev has the details.
Well, once again, due to a complete lack of success on the battlefield, the Kiev regime resorts to purely terrorist measures and presents the attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure as, having some sort of an upper hand against the Russian troops. The latest victims of Ukraine's drone attacks are in the Leningrad region. There was also damage to an online marketplace warehouse, yet another one in a string of Ukrainian attacks against a company called Wildberries. Now, just to give you an example of what kind of business that is, well, it's more commonly known as Russia's Amazon or AliExpress. Now, Zelensky said that the company and its warehouses in Russia are Kiev's legitimate targets, basically admitting that his regime is indeed involved in terrorism. His claim was that the warehouses that were attacked were used to supply the Russian army. According to Zelensky, Wildberries knowingly stored sanctioned components for the production of drones, navigation equipment, ammunition, and etc. and etc. Now, once again, the business of Wildberries is identical to that of Amazon, AliExpress, or any other Western or Chinese marketplace in Europe. The only difference is that while those other marketplaces really do sell goods like drones and fiber optics, Wildberries are mostly about clothing, footwear, household and beauty products that are primarily bought by women with children. Moreover, infrastructure of Wildberries revolves around the business of hundreds of thousands of sellers, and not only from Russia. Entrepreneurs from countries like Armenia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan use Wildberries warehouses to develop their light industry and sell their goods to each other, like from Kazakhstan to Armenia, for example. So these terrorist attacks on civilian facilities are not only an attack on Russians, but also an attack on the business interest of at least a dozen countries. Now, Russia's investigative committee launched a criminal probe into what it called a terrorist terrorist act on civilian infrastructure. Meanwhile, one of the reasons for the Kiev regime's increasing terrorist activities is arguably the fact that its army has been seriously depleted and it's constantly failing to fulfill its ranks. Now, we've reported on violent force mobilization in Ukraine for a long time, as images of goons in uniform kidnapping men off the streets have already had millions of views all around the world. Now, the force mobilization has affected almost every conscription-age man in Ukraine, and that includes Christian Orthodox priests as well. This clergyman was dragged into a van by his hands, legs, and even hair.
Жах такий. Жах, ужас.
Боже, це волосся, дивись, що Боже, і звідки. Я ж кажу, нас убили.
Meanwhile, Russia continues its group strikes using air-launched precision weapons and drones against Ukrainian Black Sea port infrastructure in Odessa and Odessa region. Overnight, the targets in Izmail port included the unloading and storage facilities for military cargo, 3 warehouses for unmanned boats, and a hangar containing equipment of the Ukrainian military. Also there in Izmail, a floating dock where drones were stored and a dock that was used for launching of underwater drones was hit as well. Over in Nikolaev port, a cargo ship delivering military goods was struck while unloading, and also struck were fuel reservoirs in Odessa port. Now, Russia's massive strikes against Ukraine's Black Sea port infrastructure and related facilities used for the army of the Kiev regime began back on the 10th of July and continues to this day, almost daily. Odessa, Chernomorsk, Nikolaev, Yuzhny, Izmail, all of those ports are major links for the supply of weapons from Ukraine's Western sponsors. And Moscow's methodical annihilation of those assets had already seriously reduced the capabilities of the Ukrainian army.
And tonight, Mark Zuckerberg wants you to believe the future of artificial intelligence isn't something to fear, it's something to celebrate. In a new high-production promotional video, Meta paints a world where AI makes us more creative, more connected, and more human.
Some people will have you believe AI will make us less connected, that it's gonna leave us behind. We couldn't disagree more. Call us optimists, call us dreamers. Just as we've always done, we're betting on people.
It's worth pointing out that the video is set to a David Bowie song about human extinction. That's aside, the message is simple. Don't listen to doomers. Don't worry about risks, just try the technology. But before we buy into that vision, it's worth asking a simple question. Who's selling it? Mark Zuckerberg says Meta has always been about giving people the power to connect. And now he says AI is just the next step in that mission. The ad takes a not-so-subtle shot at other AI companies, accusing them of pushing fear, while Meta is betting on the people. It's an optimistic sales pitch that some could say is a dreamer's approach to life, a utopian future, a world where AI empowers everyone. But there's an awkward problem. This is the same company that spent years apologizing for consequences of the last technology revolution. The same company that became a symbol of data collection, privacy controversies, content moderation battles, and social media addiction. And let's be honest, Facebook still has billions of users, but for many younger people, it has become a platform their parents and grandparents use. For years, Meta hasn't been known for inventing the next big social platform. It bought Instagram, it bought WhatsApp, two of the most popular apps in the world, both of which have faced years of questions about how user data is collected, analyzed, and used. And when Zuckerberg tried to build the next big thing himself, it was the metaverse. He rebranded the entire company, poured more than $60 billion into the project, promised a digital revolution, but the public never really showed up. And now Meta is asking the world to believe it has found the future again. This time, it's artificial intelligence. Take a look at this.
Imagine you put on your glasses or headset and you're instantly in your home space. It has parts of your physical home recreated virtually. It has things that are only possible virtually. And it has an incredibly inspiring view of whatever you find most beautiful.
Again, a pretty optimistic sales pitch of what may seem to some like a utopian future. Some people would buy in immediately, but others see it as an episode of Black Mirror. But even this week, Meta was forced to pull its new AI image feature. Muse Image after users and privacy advocates pushed back over concerns that public Instagram photos could be used without clear, explicit consent. So even before AI's future arrives, the same old questions about privacy are already back. And while the commercials show smiling families, faces, limitless creativity, and a brighter tomorrow, the reality of AI looks very different. AI doesn't just live in the cloud, it lives inside massive data centers. Warehouses filled with thousands of power-hungry computer chips, drawing enormous amounts of electricity and driving the need for new power plants, new transmission lines, and billions of dollars of infrastructure.
At the same time, we know that the data centers and AI are dramatically increasing the demand for electricity. It's only fair that the cost of building the new infrastructure required to meet this demand should be borne by the corporations themselves, not by the American.
You heard the president. While President Trump has acknowledged that AI's massive surge in electricity demand and has said American households should not be left to foot the bill, he remains firm in his belief that AI represents a major opportunity for the country.
As president, I've always said that America's goal must be to dominate the future, and that includes being the #1 superpower in artificial intelligence, so important. And this is, I think, bigger than frankly, I think it's bigger than the internet.
And look, Trump's message to communities pushing back against data centers was pretty simple. Hear it here.
Because you have to convince your community how great these things. You can't fight it. You have to go with it.
You can't fight it. You have to convince your community how great they are. So here we are. On one side, a glossy vision of AI as the technology that we liberate human potential and tap into a life of dopamine. Sounds great. Some people actually live that way. On the other hand, massive data centers, growing energy demands, expensive infrastructure, and continuing questions about privacy, data, and who really benefits. We've seen big tech sell the future before. The metaverse was supposed to change everything. It didn't. And now AI has become the next trillion-dollar promise. Maybe it changes the world. Maybe it becomes as revolutionary as its supporters believe. Or maybe years from now, we'll look back and ask whether we built an entire economy around the promise of AI before the technology was ready to deliver. So that's the question investors, governments, and the public are all trying to answer in real time. Joining us now is Todd Bubba Horwitz. Bubba is the chief market strategist at BubbaTrading.com. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Great to be with you, Olivia.
So, all this AI tech, so much has been going on lately. And what is the future of a AI utopia where robots do everything for us? Or are we going to be dominated by this technology? What do you think?
Well, I mean, the technology is good in some respects, but if we walk it back, the technology starting with Facebook, which you opened up with, has destroyed families. It's destroyed people because we no longer communicate. We no longer talk to people. We do everything through an online verse. Now you no longer educate because you go to ChatGPT or you go to one of these AI things. I think AI is unfortunately the coming future, but I want to wonder at what cost it's going to be to the average American. I mean, President Trump mentioned the cost of power. We, the taxpayer, we, the consumer, are financing these AI companies with our dollars because, of course, our power continues to go up. The usage is unbelievable. The price of copper has exploded, which is an everyday product for building for the homeowner. So this is not helping the inflationary times that we're having in the economy. It's taking away the family unit, and it's destroying all forms of real communication from one person to another because everybody only wants to use electronic communication. So there's a lot of issues with it. It's not going away, unfortunately. It is going to be the coming way, and at some point we may adapt to it, but I hope that we don't adapt to it at the cost of families, at the cost of personal touch, at the cost of dealing and communicating with our own fellow people.
And at the end of the day, Zuckerberg is also human, so he knows in a sense that this could be just sold as a dream. But do you think this is a PR stunt by Zuckerberg? And if it is, for what reason?
No, I think he really believes that this is I mean, you have a lot of people that believe that a lot of jobs are going to be replaced. Look at what we're losing in jobs already that are being replaced by AI. And, again, it's all great, except that where are these people going to go? If you're, let's just draw the baseline at 35 years old. If you're younger than 35 years old, you probably have a fair understanding of technology and how to deal with it. If you're older, maybe not. Certainly if you get to my age, it becomes a lot more problematic to deal with it. So for me, it's not a utopia. For me, it's a pain and frustration, because it adds to the cost of everything that I do, but it also takes away that human communication. Again, robots are great to vacuum your rugs, but to talk to other people, we've lost that touch. And again, I go back to that's not what America was built on. And it's a big problem. And of course, we have all these costs and other things that go along with it. So to me, I think he's selling what he believes. But of course, when you're a multi-billionaire, nothing bothers you because you don't have to worry about the people below you.
And if we look at the tech industry, it's almost like they're treating AI as that new product that just came out in the line. So why is the tech industry so optimistic about AI specifically? What is the real future potential there?
Well, I mean, it's used in so many different things. I mean, you could use it for handicapping sports events. You can use it for writing a paragraph. Many people are using, obviously, AI for chatbots now. You can't get customer service anywhere. You're talking to an AI bot. So that's a problem. But I think the problem that nobody's talking about is that the AI structure has $1.8 trillion off the balance sheet. This is building in to be a massive bubble and another massive potential collapse to markets. We went through this with the internet in the 90s, and we're going through with AI because the overwhelming cost, and again, $1.8 trillion that is not even shown on anybody's balance sheet is debt. That's a problem. And I think that's going to be something that we'll have to deal with in an economic environment coming very soon.
Well, we've run out of time tonight, but thank you so much for your insights on this. It's so interesting, and we'll see what'll come with this. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Olivia. Appreciate it.
Speaking of AI and data centers, one of the largest will soon be built outside of Salt Lake City in Utah. It's called the Stratos Data Center. America Now correspondent Elizabeth Lane went to Salt Lake City to ask locals how they feel about the planned data center.
We decided to ask people how they feel since we're here. And here's a representative for the future generation of Utah. And just wanted to ask you, you probably heard this news and this huge data center, bigger than any other data center in the nation, 40,000 acres. That's a lot. And 9 gigawatts of energy, right? So what's your take on this? Do you want this here?
I think the data center, it's going to open up job opportunities. It's going to progress us more modern, but I feel we need to reduce the environmental impacts of it.
Absolutely.
We can maybe split it up, just not all in one spot.
Dominic, you are local here in Utah, and they are bringing this huge data center, one of the biggest in the nation, not just in Utah, but in the nation.
Right.
So what is your take on this?
I'm not too pleased with it on multiple fronts. I mean, here in Utah, one of our biggest things that we've been dealing with air quality as well as water as a whole. I mean, just over the last several years, Lake Powell just continues to go down. You got the other reservoirs that are constantly being talked about. It just seems like year over year, we're having water issues. Now they're talking about bringing in a data center, which is, again, one of the largest in the nation, 3 times the size of Manhattan. I don't feel like people are fathoming that side of things, or most of them are, but it's probably not the politicians or the people approving it. But it's we have real people here in Utah that are suffering from the air quality, from the lack of water, and all of that that's destroying economy, especially as a farming state. Exactly. And they just don't seem to care. I appreciate that how large it's going to be will bring jobs and such things, but we got to be able to find jobs in other facets, because how long are those jobs going to be around for? What's the long-term effect on that thing when
Absolutely.
Right now we're already struggling with an actual ecological being the water issue at the
Absolutely.
core of it.
We had probably the driest winter
Right.
this year, right?
Yep.
And no snow, which is unusual for Utah. And they were telling Utahns just, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, that only water your lawns like what, 3 or 4 times a week?
Yep. Yeah.
It's yeah.
Mind blowing that we're going from one side of the spectrum of, hey, we're in a severe drought, let's try to minimize our water, let's push back watering, which I kept getting, the newsletters about that kind of thing. And I've even reduced our watering. Like my lawn is starting to get a little bit, which is totally fine. I do not mind that. However, it doesn't seem like other people want to share that sympathy with doing that. And then at the same time, oh, but we're also going to take on this massive data center. Like, where are you getting the water from?
Exactly.
Like, so far, now, if there's an answer to that, I'd love to hear it. But so far, every time they bring it up, no one's actually talking about where that water is coming from. They talk about, oh, well, we're going to recycle it and we're going to clean it, which, from what I've heard from other reports, that's still not healthy for the systems that it's going to go back into. So I'm still,
Absolutely.
myself, my kids, my wife, it's like, how does that long-term affect all of us?
What does it take to be effective against Kevin O'Leary and his mega data center coming to Utah?
I think the biggest thing that we really can do, because it's a great question to be honest, but I think the biggest thing we can do is continue what we've been doing, which is continuing to be a unified Utah. This has been phenomenal to see people across the board. I feel like we haven't really seen a lot of unison on a lot of things lately with politics and how divisive everything is. It's been actually really nice to be able to wake up and have in an essence, a breath of fresh air that people are unified over something, and it's something that has a major impact not only on Utahns of Box Elder, but also Utahns of all of Utah, and then will also trickle down to other states. So I think we need to continue to fight this fight as a unit. Don't let them divide us. Don't get too crazy on the weeds. Let's just stick to it. And until they can either give us a direct answer on some of these things, like how is the tax breaks going to affect us? Are you actually going to be reclaiming water appropriately? How does that affect the economy? How does that affect the actual ecosystems? We need direct answers, not beating around the bush or in the long term, or it's no. We need direct answers. They don't give those. So we need to everyone continue to voice their concern and just hope that it'll make a difference.
I was concerned too, and I have the same concerns about some other things that have come up suddenly without much input from zoning people or the people themselves. And I would like to have more of that before such a big energy guzzling thing is placed here.
Absolutely. And tell me more about the zoning. So you said I'm concerned about the zoning. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm thinking of other places like downtown Salt Lake City and ICE detention centers, but zoning there too, since it impacts farmers and it will impact our electricity and our water supply. I just don't think the appropriate officials have been in on a discussion before this took place.
Absolutely agree with you. And I think the same happened with the data center.
Yeah.
And we're kind of in discussion now when it's a fight between people and Kevin O'Leary in the state. So if they are successful and they bring the data center in, what do you think is going to happen to Utah?
I can't imagine. Farmers will have to change, and water, things might be different. And I just don't know that it's been thought about and approved properly.
I think we should have Elon Musk put all the data centers in space.
That's amazing. That's a great answer. Thank you so much.
I have not researched it very much. Again, I like the fact that it would bring jobs. Any opportunity that's going to bring jobs, I think, is very important for Utah, for our economy. Having said that, I don't know what the environmental impact would be. I haven't heard that much about it, except for the fact that people are upset at what it would do. Again, I just don't know. I don't have enough information.
Absolutely. Yeah, most people don't. And that's usually the press, it's not out there. People are not talking about it. Even in the local press, it's not very, talked about issue. So what if I told you that they wanted to bring this data center that just, takes all the water. It was 4.2 billion gallons per year. So do you think that Utah can support it with these droughts?
That's an interesting question with how our drought is currently. I would think not.
Clara, we were exploring Utah and what Utahns think about this data center that Kevin O'Leary wants to bring here. So just wanted your opinion because you're our future generation and you have to live in here, you know, with this data center. What is your opinion about this?
I mean, it is pretty nerve-wracking to think about it, how it is going to be taking a lot of land and a lot of water usage. So that is pretty scary to think about. I love nature. I love Utah and exploring it. So it is, I mean, overall, it's just pretty scary to think about.
And that's America Now. I'm Olivia Flynn. For more stories, visit our website at rt.com and join us every night at 7, 8, 9, and 10. Thank you for watching and have a good night. And remember, question everything.